CTE teacher friends that are missing out. And yeah, okay, we're good to go. Alrighty. So my name is Crystal Hart. If we haven't met, I'm a staff development specialist for the Department of Innovation and Learner Engagement. And then I have my partner in crime, Jessie Gerbato, with us. She's the one waving. She is going to moderate the chat, help with all of the links and all those good things. And then she's also a wealth of knowledge with Pear Deck too. So if I can't answer the question, I bet Jessie will be able to. So first question, I'm going to launch a poll for you, but let's reflect. We're here to learn about Pear Deck, but the most important question is, how often do you teach with Google Slides? So let me get that poll launched for you. All right, and then I'll show the results so you can see each other's results, but do you use it never, once in a while, all the time, or still using PowerPoint? Does that even count? Once in a while, you get 2 votes for once in a while, 4 for all the time. Nobody's still rocking PowerPoint, but if you were, it's okay because you can actually upload any PowerPoint into a Google slide. It'll convert it for you. So if you have things that you use like for years and years, I use PowerPoint to teach, you can pull those into Google Slides. There might be a tiny bit of formatting to do, but they are really good to go. So looks like we are in good shape. I'm going to end that poll. Thank you guys for participating. The reason I ask about Google Slides is because Pear Deck, what we're here to learn today, is an add-on for Google Slides. So Pear Deck itself isn't the product. The product is Google Slides, and so it looks like most of us are already using that. And then it's an add-on, so it's going to enhance the power of the slides. So our objectives today in 1 hour, we're hoping that you have learned how to harness the power of Google Slides and this Pear Deck add-on as they work together. You are going to hopefully understand how a student experiences Pear Deck in both the teacher and student pace mode. And then we're going to have some build, explore, create time at the end for Pear Deck, really focusing on the pre-made templates, because I think that's the easiest way to get started. So we are here because this PD does support our district priorities, the guide for instructional direction, and then of course the standards for teaching practices. We are here growing and developing as professionals in our field and refining our craft so that we can increase our student achievement. Our agenda today is we're going to, first of all, if you don't know what Pear Deck is, I'll share briefly more what the add-on is. You'll have that student experience. And then we'll go back and we'll look as the teacher. There's 5 different question types. There's a ton of different templates, which again is that really good starting point. And then you'll leave knowing how to start both a teacher and student paced Pear Deck, and you'll be able to toggle back and forth for that synchronous and asynchronous instruction that you're providing your students. So, professional development best practices, definitely give yourself some grace. I might need it too. My Google Meet like flipped out when I was doing breakout PD the other day. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that doesn't happen today. But just know that whatever learning method works best for you, it is okay. You can sit back. I know it's been a long day for my CTE friends that were in that meeting all day. If you want to observe and take notes and not actively participate, I will not be offended. But this is an interactive PD, so if you're like ready to go and you want to participate, you'll open a second window and participate right alongside. And then again, use the chat, and because we're a small group, you can just unmute your mic and ask me your question. And remember, every experience where you're the student learning virtually, you are definitely developing some empathy for your students because they have been doing this all year long. So what is Pear Deck? Pear Deck is an add-on for Google Slides. All of you said that you in some capacity use Google Slides. So if you don't know what an add-on is, it is something that really enhances the power of that tool. So Google Docs has add-ons, this one's specific for Pear Deck, but there are a ton of different add-ons that do all sorts of different things. But what Pear Deck is going to focus on is really engaging your learners in real time, and then also during those asynchronous times in that student pace. And there's accessibility features, so it really can engage every single student every single day. So let's go ahead and do a student experience. So in a new tab, you're going to want to click the link that Jesse just put in the chat. It will have you connect with your Google single sign-on for RUSD. So go ahead and do that. You want to have your Google Meet open, and you can flip back and forth from my tab to your student experience, but there will be things I'm showing you on the teacher dashboard you'll want to peek at on the Google Meet. So I will let you do that. If you're having any trouble, let me know. Here's my teacher dashboard. I see that 6 students are already in. I can check my class roster. I can see your social emotional check-in. I see that my friend Sharisa is out of here, which is nice though for you as the teachers. You can see which students have logged in and joined and which ones are maybe idle. So very good. And then you saw that there was a social emotional check-in, just a how are we doing today? And that was that little happy face. So you're in teacher mode right now. So I'm doing all of the driving. So I changed the slides for you. And this right here that I'll pull back and forth, this is the teacher dashboard. So if you've used Pear Deck before, you might not know how I got there. I clicked on this class roster, shows me how many of my students that have joined this Pear Deck are active. And then I can click on it and I can see the SEL check-in, and then I can also see which students. So let me close that. All right, let's get started. All right, and the purpose of this is just for you to really experience what your kiddos will experience, and then also just kind of get familiar with the different questioning types in Pear Deck. So how much do you know about Pear Deck? How much do you know? And there is no right or wrong answer, so do not worry. All right. Very good. So right here, I am on the teacher dashboard. I can click show responses if I want to show my class. So the teacher dashboard is something that I'll be modeling throughout the day. When I was in a brick and mortar classroom, I'd walk around and I control it just from my cell phone. Teaching virtually, a lot of us have 2 monitors, so you can do it. I have it on one monitor and then you can have it on the other. It's really up to you. But here is where we are. Most of you know what it is, you've tried it out, and some of us love it. And I encourage anyone that loves it and uses it with students, if there's something you want to share at any moment, interject, put it in the chat. I love learning new things. All right, so this is a draggable. Go ahead and drag the icon over the adverb in each sentence. And if you have to Google adverb, it's okay, I won't know. All right. I'm on my teacher dashboard. I'm watching. I'm always looking at what's happening. All right. Do I see Ron Weston in here? Look at that. Hey, Ron. All right, so here I am on my teacher dashboard. I can see all of your answers. I can scroll through. Sometimes it gives me a really good peek at what I need to maybe teach everyone, and I don't have to call anyone out. I can give a verbal prompt, which is really nice. Right, and Jesse, how's the chat? Everyone doing okay? All good. All right. And something else that you can see on the teacher dashboard right here, I can see who has not responded. Now, I know that Sharifa's not in here right now, but when we're teaching virtually, so those days your students are at home, it's nice to know who might be logged in, but maybe not fully engaged in the learning. All right, estimation. How many jelly beans can you fit in a mason jar? What do you think?
How big is the mason jar?
I knew someone was going to ask. So like the one that you drink your sweet tea out of, Ron?
My margarita this evening, is that what you said?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Your mint julep.
There you go.
So what I see on the teacher dashboard, this is really good when you're doing like a mean, median, and mode or some sort of numbers discussion right here. You can kind of see what's happening. This is where we are at. Now I'm going to hide those responses, and you gave an answer. Now, how did you decide on that number? So this is a writing response, a text response, which is good because you can use text response across all content areas. And now I'm having you justify your thinking, which is great. How'd you decide on that number, Donna? I saw your number. How'd you decide on it?
I'm unmuting myself. I just looked at it and just thought 150. That's how I decided. I have no idea.
You and your leader think alike.
That's scary.
So, well, here's what I see on the teacher dashboard. So on my dashboard, I see your names. I see everything. I even see if you deleted a response right there, which is really nice because you can see as students are adjusting their thinking, you're not looking and saying, well, you have no response, so you must have not been engaged. But a deleted response tells me they thought something and now they're adjusting. And then here I can see some answers. So, you want to facilitate a good discussion based around that, not just a yes, you were right or a no, you were wrong. But you also notice that it removed all of the names. So I like to use this when I was with my sixth graders because it's that safe place. Sixth grade, they think they're cool. So high school, you can only imagine. I'm sure the level of coolness went up really high. And you don't want to call them out and you never want to embarrass them. But because of your teacher dashboard, who needs help, who's doing great. And here you can see I starred some answers that as they were coming in, I thought, this is really good. I want to talk about this or showcase this. And then here it removed their names. And then I can hide responses. And you can give students a chance to adjust their thinking after that discussion. And you can allow them to re-answer. For me, Pear Deck was always about the process, right? It's the formative assessment. It's not summative. So, hey, you got it wrong. Now you know how to get it right. Do it right. So that is something I really loved about Pear Deck in the classroom. Now moving on. All right, here we go. I'm a gamer when I can.
I want to know what the answer is, teacher.
150. No, I don't know. I'm just kidding. Here's what's going to happen though. You have 1 minute. I just started a timer. You can see your timer counting down. You need to draw me a dog playing the violin with a pineapple body. If you're a camper, this is one of my camping games because we try to unplug and it's just a super bizarre game. But the kids draw pictures and they have a timer. You have colors. So if you haven't discovered how to use the color, use the color. You can make it thinner or thicker, adjust the width, and give me a dog playing the violin with a pineapple body. Let's see. All right. So what happened is your anxiety level probably went up, and I apologize. But I set a timer. That's a new feature, and I'll show you how to do that if you come back on Thursday. And what it did is it counted down. You saw there was a little number counting down, and then it automatically locked your screens. The reason I would use this in the classroom is there are times when you're like, they need to see some exemplar answers. And so right here, as you were trying to figure this out, I was starring again on my teacher dashboard. Now you can see kind of where you should be headed. And then I can unlock your screens and let you guys go ahead and give it a little better try. So I'm going to give you another minute to try to work on your pineapple bodies because I know that you want to be successful in this. So go ahead. And if you didn't discover the color, it looks like everyone did. I always encourage the students to do that because the magic's in the details, right? And Jesse, yes, good thing to bring up. None of you had to hit enter in any of these answers. The teacher in real time can always see all of the answers, which I absolutely love, because you can help guide a student before they've spent 10 minutes of doing something wrong. You can help them verbally, or I'll show you another way you can leave them feedback in real time. All right, so the timer ended, and I can control right here from this teacher dashboard. I can control when the screens are locked or unlocked. I can hide all of the responses or show all the responses. Here you see that I had starred some as they were coming in, but I can clear all of the stars. And here you can see all of the answers at a snapshot, or you can even look at them closer in a list layout and talk about it. So depending on what your content area is and how much detail there is for your students need to see, those are all options. And this is just an interactive whiteboard. I typed on some text because it's a Google slide, and you can make it anything that you want for your students. Sometimes I just leave it a whiteboard and I orally ask questions when I was in the classroom, and the students would just do their work and then clear it and then do their work. And so super low prep. All right. Here we go. On to the next. Okay, let's see how you do. This is a template. You're going to drag the flag to Algeria, or where you think it could possibly be. You may not know. Oops, sorry. If you haven't gotten it yet, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. I love the built-in timer. When I was in the classroom, I lived by the timer. Otherwise, I'd say you have 2 more minutes, and it was like 10 minutes, and I was always off schedule. So timers help keep me honest. Ron, no comments.
Please, I would never say anything.
All right, so here we go. Your timer went off, your screen's automatically locked. Favorite new feature in Pear Deck. Now, you saw that you could show responses in this list and the grid layout. Here, ideally, we should all have the same answer. This is the overlaid layout. So whenever I would do something where my students needed to have one answer, I would overlay it so then we could talk. And they learn better from their peers saying why one is right versus the other is right than me telling them why they're right or wrong. So you can allow some quick classroom discussion. When the screens are locked, especially in brick and mortar, they're less likely to be doing something else. They're engaged until I unlock the screens and say, okay, you can fix your answer. I like to let them fix their answer, because something you'll learn about in Pear Deck 201 on Thursday is that there is something called the takeaways. So if you're using this as a study tool, it will print not print, but it'll give them a Google Doc of all of their answers. And so we don't want to study from things that are incorrect. If they're adjusting their thinking to correct, then they have a great study tool, and you didn't have to do anything. All right, let's hide your responses and move on to the next thing. All right, drag your dot. This is the old school thumbs up, thumbs down, but drag your dot. Are you ready to move on? I think you have a good feel, but I could be way off. Let me know. All right, so here we are. I could lock the screens if I needed to. What I really like on my teacher dashboard is I know who your dot is. So you know you always have that one crazy dot that's flying around if you unlock the screens. I can find out who's where. This is another template as well. I just typed in my question, and here's what we're gonna do. Now, this was teacher paced. I was in control. I did all of the teaching, talking, deciding when you're gonna talk, what you're gonna see. Now I'm going to switch it to student paced. So you're gonna be in charge. You can go at your own pace till you get to the stop sign. I'm gonna give you about 5 minutes. And if you have questions as you're exploring, ask me or Jesse or use the chat. It's going to go over some of the templates and different things, but because you are CTE and you're also unique in the different areas you teach, instruction looks very different to all of you. So I wanted you to have some time to really look at things that have meaning to you. So as the teacher, what I'm doing is clicking the 3 dots, and I'm now going to select turn on student paste mode. And now you guys are on your own. Please know I'm the teacher. I can still see what slide you're on and all those things. But if you have questions during these 5 minutes, unmute your mic, use the chat, any of those things. We are here to support you, but you are just exploring until you get to the stop sign. Let me set my timer. We've got about 2 minutes, and there's a bunch of templates I see most of you did, but there's some really good stuff specific to secondary with Newsella and I think Wonders of the Day towards the end, the weekly wonder. So if you want to skip along to that, make sure you get a browse, and you will get all of these resources. So don't worry, it's only just a taste today. All right, your final 30 seconds for exploring. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. I can do a couple things as a teacher. I can toggle back to teacher paced, so I can turn off the student paced, which means you can't go at your own pace and you'll be where I want you to be. So that's really nice because I know you guys meet with group A and group B and it's like go here and there. You can start in class doing direct instruction with your slides, and then you can turn that same slide deck into student paced for when they're doing their asynchronous time, which is nice. And then you can check in on your kiddos. So even though they're home, you can pull up your teacher dashboard for all of your different sections, and you can have a different Pear Deck for each period you have. It doesn't have to be one massive Pear Deck, or you can have them all together. But you can see that I was checking out where you guys were. I was adding feedback, which we'll go over more in the next session. But some of you might have seen I tried to give you all a little bit of feedback where it's time-stamped, and it doesn't go two-way from student to teacher like most Google things do, but it does go from teacher to student. So they can see that, and I can keep adding feedback as well. So that's a really powerful tool for you to use. And then I could also see what slides you guys were on. I could go to the slides and see who has completed or hasn't completed a slide as well. So lots of different things. But what we're going to do right here is I'm going to end this session. Probably want to name it. So if it's period 1, probably the date, because if you're going to start using Pear Deck more often, that way you can go back and look at these if you need to. And then you'll want to check publish student takeaways. That's where all of their answers, you'll want to use Google Classroom. All of their answers will get posted to them directly in Google Classroom. And we didn't use Classroom, so it looks a little bit different right now for us. But when you share it to Classroom, it goes directly back to Classroom. So here's what I will do. I'll put this in the chat if you want to peek and look at it. Just keep in mind it looks a tiny bit different for us, or you can share it to Classroom. And we'll talk about takeaways more in the 201 if you come. I just got to keep saying that just to get you guys back on Thursday. Okie dokie. Let me go ahead. You can close your Pear Deck window. We're done with that for right now. And then we are going to go back to the slide deck. And Jesse, you want to chime in about the dots? Sorry, I've got all sorts of tabs and things. But there was a slide 15, you guys were dragging dots, and Jesse was pointing out that you can use as many dots as you want. But do you want to clarify on that?
Sure. So I know as a student, I was going through and I found like one noun per sentence. Oh, okay, cool, I'm done. And I went to go click next and thought, oh my gosh, there's extra dots. I'm supposed to go find more nouns. So as the teacher, you can pull in as many of those dots as you want. If you've not used it before, that's totally customizable. If you want them to find one noun, if you want them to find 10 nouns, you can add as many of those dots as you like, even though they're all the same color, same shape, same size, etc. Because on some of the other ones, we had like a compass, a fish, or whatever. I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, oh, as a student, I had to check myself and go, uh-oh, I think I'm supposed to find more.
Very good. Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate that. Yes, and like Jesse said, everything is really customizable. So that's where we're going to get into. You guys shared with me that you're all familiar and use Google Slides already to some levels. So you are going to be in good shape getting started with Pear Deck. So I'm going to give you some directions, and then in ILE fashion, we're going to give you time to actually do these things and build and explore while you have 2 people here to help support you. So the first thing that you'll do during this build and explore time is you'll open up a slide deck. Now you can open up an existing slide deck if you're like, tomorrow's lesson, I'm doing it, I'm going to start, or you can open up a blank Google slide deck. But you'll want to open up any slide deck in your RUSD account And then across the top, there's going to be the word add-ons. You'll click that add-ons, and then the drop-down menu will open, and you'll see Pear Deck for Google Slides, the add-on. Click the little arrow over, and then open Pear Deck add-on. So I'll give you, because I know you're probably already doing it anyways, I'll give you a minute and get your slide deck open up add-ons, Pear Deck for Google Slides, and then open Pear Deck add-on. So have that in another tab, either a blank one or an existing slide deck that you know you want to put some interactive slides in. And then if you're just sitting back watching at this point, it is okay, because this is being recorded and there's all these screenshots for you to refer back to. But if you're dying to get started, I'll give you a moment to catch up. Alrighty. Now that you have your Google Slides open and you have your Pear Deck add-on open, you probably noticed that there's a little bar on the far right. This bar has all sorts of different magical things that you'll get to explore at some point today, or if you come back Thursday. But the main thing is that there are 5 question types, and you explored all of those today. So when you were typing in text, that's called a text response. It's just typing in a response. There's multiple choice, number, so the number where we saw that bar with the estimation. You can embed a website if you need your students to go somewhere. The interactive whiteboard, the draw feature, and then we had the draggable. So those are your 5 question types for Pear Deck. Now, the place that I really want to focus if we're just getting started today is the template library, because there's so many things that are already created that you can just start with and then edit. That's the best place to start. So to open up the template library, you already have your Pear Deck add-on open. You have that bar on the far right. You'll want to click on the little caret that you see in the template library, and then you can scroll through. There's lesson builders. They've got it by beginning, middle, end. They've got it by content. You want to do a social emotional check-in with your students, like tomorrow's Wednesday, so you've got, what, 20 minutes? Perfect. Let's do Pear Deck and do some SEL and metacognition and think about our thinking and fill your 20 minutes and you're good to go. And then you'll select the slide that you want. Now, each slide has words. Remember, it's a Google slide, so you can customize any of the text to make it specific to your content area or activity. And at the bottom, it tells you what the activity is. So that's what you are stuck with. If you pick a drawing slide, that's what your students are going to be asked to do, draw, but you can change any of the text on it. So you'll have time to do that. Don't worry. We're going to go back to that. But you want to know how to start your Pear Deck. So tomorrow, when you're ready to start the Pear Deck you create today, you'll want to open this Google slide deck back up, open your add-on again. So click that bar, click add-ons, the drop-down menu, and you'll see at the top, there's the green start lesson. Remember, if you just present your Google slides, they're not interactive. They're just regular old Google slides. You have to open up the Pear Deck add-on, click that start lesson, and then decide, do I want to begin student paced, instructor paced? And you can toggle, like I showed you, anytime during the lesson, and as many times as you want. And then you can share with the link in the chat like I did. You can do a join code, or you can share it to Google Classroom. I say Google Classroom is the best way to do it with students. So this is what it would look like on that join code. I gave you guys the link, and then there's the invite class button. It's that share to classroom. That's when you're ready to start with your Pear Deck. So we have 10 minutes. You already have your Google slide deck open. You have your Pear Deck add-on open. Find some templates, customize them for maybe tomorrow or next week with your class. Oh, we have 8 minutes. Sorry, just kidding. We have 8 minutes. So if you have questions or stuck on anything, please let me know. This is really good that Ron and his team are here, because maybe in a staff meeting, you might get a Pear Deck. So they've got stuff they can create. And then just let me know if you have any questions during this work time. That makes my heart happy. I hope so, Jordan. Maybe you'll do another one. And if you guys find any great templates, feel free to unmute your mic and point your colleagues in that direction or put it in the chat because there's a ton to explore. Nice. Yay, Jenna. Way to lead your CTE team with some Pear Decks. And the nice thing is these are Google Slides, so if you have a department or a team and you've created a nice Pear Deck, you can share the slide deck or a forced copy with your teammates if you don't want them editing your master. And then they have a Pear Deck to get started with too. No pressure, but you have 5 seconds to put your finishing touches on your very first Pear Deck, some of you. Oh. And time's up. All right, so moving on. I think before we move on to the SAMR question, if you could put in the chat, I know some of you are Pear Deck, probably experts really, and some of us are just getting started, but put in the chat one of the templates that you really liked, or one of the content areas or lessons you're thinking you could see this fit in. And it does, yes, it saves automatically, which is like one of the perks. What do you think? Critical thinking, yes, absolutely. They've got some really good templates, like even the I wonder. I used to use it, just says I wonder. I think it says I wonder. And the students like, what are they wondering about? And I would tell them you can wonder about the lesson, dinner, your weekend, but you learn a whole lot when you give those students a chance to just wonder. Math, SEL, absolutely. This is really good for some SEL check-ins and some team building even. Nice. Very good. All right, so I'm going to start another poll now that you're thinking about where you could use Pear Deck with your students, and it could be SEL, it could be the I wonder. Yeah, Jordan, that was one of my favorites, and you will get like some crazy answers. And you'll get some really cool things where you're like, oh, and what I used to love, sorry, this is a bird walk, but when I would use the I wonder, I'd usually do it as an introduction. So we're going to learn about ancient Egypt, and I would let the kids like, what do you wonder? Anything you want to know. And not all of it clearly would come up in the curriculum, but when I would show those I wonders, some students would go home and maybe a week later, they'd say, I found Ron's wondering, and they'd share, and they were so excited. So just a way you could use that. But let me start this poll now that I'm done with my bird walk. Thinking about your lesson, where do you think it could fall in SAMR? And so SAMR is substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition, or could Pear Deck in a teacher-paced form land anywhere on this SAMR model? All of the above. Go ahead, cast your vote. The poll has started. All right, we got 2 votes. I'm going to wait for 1 more or 2 more. What do you think? So substitution is when the technology acts as a substitute. There's no functional change. So you had a worksheet on paper and pencil, you have a worksheet, it's just on technology. That's kind of substitution. Augmentation is when the technology is a direct substitute, but functional improvement. So yes, you have a worksheet, it's just now on a Google slide, but the functional improvement is your teacher in real time can see all of your answers. And that is an improvement when I'm not brick and mortar. Brick and mortar worksheet, I can walk around and see what you're writing. When I'm at home and you're at your home, I can't do that. So there's definitely a functional improvement. Modification is there's task redesign. So the output looks significantly different. So think about that, and that could look so different. And then redefinition, which the R is harder to reach. And if you're not at an R, it's okay. But it's when the technology allows for creation of new tasks that were previously inconceivable. So really, you as an instructional designer would have to be really creative in your thinking, a little out of the box to get your students to that. But that is where you can really harness those 4 C's, that critical thinking, communication, collaboration, because you could possibly have this as some sort of group project if you are in person, but it looks really different. So I would say, of course, this Pear Deck can land anywhere in SAMR, depending on what you want to do. All right, now the final shameless plug for Pear Deck 201 on Thursday, same time, same place. It might be a different Google Meet link, but you could sign up because Jesse put it in the chat if you'd like to. We are going to look at pop-up activities. So on the fly, I would oftentimes be like, oh my gosh, I have 3 minutes of class left. What can I do before I let these guys go? You can do an on the fly with no prep pop-up activity. We'll look more at leaving the feedback You can embed audio, so really good for accessibility or independent lessons where you're just speaking to your students and they can listen to it, which I like for student pace. Take another deeper look at the dashboard, the student takeaways, and then brand new to Pear Deck, immersive reader. So really looking at focusing on supporting those diverse learners and their unique needs. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We're a little bit early, but I did build in time for you to do the attendance confirmation and feedback. If you could please do that, we value your feedback. I know if you attended last week, you've used CickUp before. CickUp is going forward, the new platform. It's like the PD hub for our USD, so you'll start to see this in every PD you attend. But if you could confirm your attendance, and then also please leave us feedback because we value your input. We do definitely use the data to kind of pivot and change as our PDs make sure they meet the needs of you guys as learners. So the confirmation code is on the screen. And then once you are done, you are, oh, Harold, that's the name. I had it on a Post-it. I apologize. I think I wrote it down when Sharissa was doing that. Let me write that down again. I'm sorry. Okay. And then, yes. The code, is it? Uh-oh. Well, let me check. 1 second, everybody. Who knows? And I had a typo the other day. I think I need new glasses, quite honestly. Let's look in and kick up. Thank you guys for your patience. Make sure we get you the right code. And let's see, Y7ELSA. Perfect. No problem. Thank you, Jordan. Seriously. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you, Jenna. Okay, and then let's see, Harold, love it. And then Harold, you can put a work order in too. They should fix it, and then I will also just make sure our team knows. They have to reset you somehow, and they meaning the people who know more about technology than me. Okay, perfect. Yes. Thanks, Ron. Hey, CTE, thank you so much, though, for inviting ILE to host these 4 PDs for you guys, the last one being Thursday. Okay, last shameless plug. We appreciate you guys so much.
You guys are the best. Thanks.
You're welcome. And your team and everyone, thank you for your time. Hopefully we see you again Thursday. If you have teachers who didn't attend today, but they want to come Thursday, they can fit right in. We will take them. And when you're done with the feedback, you are free to go. Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Oh, thank you. You know I would have.